Welcome to the Sunday School Club, guys. Today's episode is a hallway chat episode. And what that means is the episode before this was a lesson where I was teaching. And now, just like you would in Sunday school, we're going to go out into the hallway, chat with a friend about what we just learned and anything else that might come up along the way. The previous episode to this hallway chat is the Lazarus episode. Now, the Lazarus episode, we focused in on the messianic miracles, the 4 messianic miracles. Guys, they blew my mind when I learned about them. So if you haven't listened to that yet, I highly recommend go back, listen to that, and hear our chat after. Well, that episode focused a lot on the symbolism of the story. Today we're going to focus more on suffering with Jesus that we see in the story of Lazarus. And I can think of no greater guest than who we have today. Today we have Mikayla Jeanty with us. She holds degrees in biblical studies and human services counseling. She is a lover of a good nature walk, is passionate for the nation, married to DDA, my former college roommate, and the author of the new book, If God is Good, Rediscovering Hope in the Mysteries of Suffering. Mikayla, I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thank you. That was a great intro. I'm like, can you come and intro me for everything instead of me doing it myself? I loved that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm for hire for free.
Call you up anytime. That's awesome. I'm so excited for this.
Girl, I'm so excited to have you on. We got to live together for 2 years during college, and they were for sure like the most fun years of college.
They were. I miss that house. Like, I think about those yellow walls all the time.
Yes.
I tell the stories of when we had rats. Like,
oh, how could you forget? If anyone listened to episode 1, the creation story, I briefly talk about our college house and how our basement flooded occasionally.
Yeah.
Do you also remember the mutant insects that lived down there?
The sprickets, yes. I do remember.
They were the scariest mutant. I don't think it was a real insect that has been identified. I think there was a mutant species living there from the mold of the floods that would happen in our basement. And it was very unfortunate because you had to go to our basement for laundry. So in order to clean anything.
I just remembered feeling like I was about to go to war. Like every time I had to go in the basement for laundry, like I needed shoes on. I was hyper vigilant. Mm-hmm. I needed ready to like throw something at the bugs because they would jump.
They jumped so high.
Yeah.
And like you couldn't tell the direction they were going.
Yeah.
It was terrifying.
Yeah. But when I'm like,
I
think I paid like $400 a month. Like, I'm like, it's okay, you know? That's amazing.
I think, like, because I paid a little bit more because I had the bedroom upstairs that was bigger. And I think if we paid, like, had a crazy utilities month where we, like, really put the heater up.
Right.
In total, I think my max was, like, $600.
Right.
Which is just a
Take me back.
Oh.
Yeah.
What are some fond memories you do have of our, like, college poverty years?
I do remember with you specifically, like one time you like looked at me in the kitchen and you were like, I'm gonna need you to like graduate from smoothies and chicken tenders. Like you were like, I need you to eat food because I see you in here. I would make like salads with chicken tender.
Oh, I remember.
And then I would just make smoothies all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, are you eating? Are you taking care of yourself? I need to see this. And I was just like, okay.
Because it would also be like 1.5 chicken tenders if it was like at the end of the bag and they're like this big.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so real. I also really loved remember the cheap movie theater that would play like older movies? And when I first got to college, I think it was $1.25.
Yeah.
And then post-COVID, they raised their prices to $2.
Yeah.
And we'd be like, do you want to go to the movies tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if I have enough money. And we'd literally like look through our purse, our car, and the couch cushions to find quarters.
Yes.
And we would normally manage it. And then we'd show up there and we'd literally slide a bunch of change over. And we'd be like, 1 ticket, please.
Right. And they're unfazed because that's just how
that's
it was.
all of it.
Yeah.
I think like one week you and DDA invited me to the movies and I was like pulling coins out and they were like falling on the ground and you were like, we got your ticket. And I was like, are you sure? I don't want to put that burden on you.
The $2. Can you handle it? We all know where we're living and working. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember trying to do donate plasma
Yes. I wanted to ask you about that because not to say that I'm at college level poor,
Yeah,
but the world be expensive.
it is. It's very
It's
expensive.
especially on one income. It has been tight lately. And so I did make a profile, like logged on to their little site and made a profile to maybe donate. And then I chickened out per the usual. But you in your book actually open up your chapter of Lazarus about donating plasma. And I was reading it and I was like, I remember that day. I like
Yeah.
came downstairs and I was like, she is not okay. Do you want to tell the world, educate them on maybe the
Yeah.
experiences of donating
Yeah.
plasma?
Yeah. So my friend was like, hey, we can go make some money. I'm like, I'm already bought in. What are we doing? So we're like gonna go donate plasma. I hadn't had a significant amount of blood work up to this point, but I knew that I was a little queasy, but I was like, it'll be fine. So we go to this sketchy clinic. We fill out some paperwork. They take your vitals. And it was like in that post-COVID era where they were looking for like antibodies. Is that what they're called?
Oh yeah. Do they actually like pay more for
They
those?
paid more for that. Yes. And so we were like, okay,
Dang.
we're gonna make even more money. So they like take me back, and there's just like all these like worn out leather recliner chairs with people just like laying back with double needles because they're taking it out and then they're putting it back in.
Ugh, no.
They're
Ha.
taking the plasma out again. So
No.
I'm like trying to tell the tech that was gonna do it. I was like, I'm a little queasy, like I'm a little sensitive with blood, but it's fine. And she's just not having it. She's like, just trying to get through.
Yeah, she's like, whatever.
And so as soon as she ties my arm, puts a ball in my hand to squeeze, my vision starts blurring and going black. And I was like, and I tried to say something, I don't know what came out, but then I was just out.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend that was there tells me that she heard me screaming because I have this thing, it runs in my family where when I pass out, I mimic a seizure. So I
Oh,
scream and like
what a fun trait.
so anyways, I wake up and there's blood, like my blood on my shirt and all over the floor because I think they were just trying to
No.
get it out as fast as possible. And
Oh dear
so
gosh. Just
um
rip it out of your arm.
yes. So there's like, I wake up, there's blood everywhere. My friend is like, you were screaming, you were like convulsing. And I was like, what is happening? Long story short, I made $0.
That's so rude. Not even a
$0.
gift card, not
No,
even a $5.
no, they gave me a Gatorade. That's it. I think my friend made $80 though
Yeah,
that
girl.
day, and she had the COVID antibodies. And so I was like, I'm glad it worked out for you, but it definitely solidified like a phobia of needles and blood work and all the things. So
Honestly, I'm surprised she like stayed and continued giving after she saw just blood splattered
I
friend on the ground.
know. I think
That's
she was
just
in process. I think it was already
okay.
happening. So she was like, I'm locked in, you know?
That's also just like such a great picture of college of like, girl, I gotta get my bag.
For sure.
Sorry,
For sure.
you're fine. You're fine. Oh man. Okay, well, during college, we had a lot of fun times, but you also had some really tough stuff happen pretty much as soon as you got there.
Mm-hmm.
In your book, you talk about the tragedy of Isabel,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming that probably gave a lot of the start and the background for the whole reason behind this book. Can you just
Mm-hmm.
tell us about her?
Yeah. Yeah. So her full name was Isabel. I called her as Izzy, but she and I became best friends like first week of freshman year at college. So we were attached at the hip, my person I'm doing everything with, processing life with. And then our sophomore year, she was diagnosed with leukemia. And so she ended up going home like halfway through the year, which was obviously we were 18 at the time.
Mm.
So just like world shattering, like you're too young. This isn't supposed to happen to you. You've already gone through things before college. So I almost had this perspective of like, we got suffering out of the way, like for both of our stories. And then she walked through cancer for like a year and a half before she
Mm.
passed away in 2020. So my college experience. And I always like to say, like, there was a lot of other things going on too with like family, other health diagnoses, other, deaths in my family, and things that I just don't always share publicly because it's not my story to tell. But that season of kind of like 2018 through 2020 was truly one of like darkness, heaviness, grief, feeling like I'm getting beat up, and a lot of wrestling with God, which led to the book of like, this is the way that I wrestled with the Lord. These are some things that were helpful for me, not only like biblical truth and theology, but also practically like rhythms to hold on to hope through that dark season, through that heaviness. And coming out on the other side of that and realizing so many people are also having these experiences, asking these questions. So I'm like, this is a conversation that we all are having or need to have. And so that's kind of how the book came about.
Man, yeah, I remember when I lived with you, I did think, I was like, man, Mikayla can't catch a break. I felt so bad for you. And there were so many times where I did want to comfort you. I did want to say something, but I knew, and especially because our personalities are different, I tend to be a little more black and white. I'm maybe not as gentle with people. I probably mishandled your grief so many times during our friendship, especially living together.
I don't remember that at all. I only remember your grace and kindness.
Oh, oh, well, that's the Lord giving the nice rose-colored glasses during that time. But how would you encourage someone to come along someone else that's in the midst of suffering?
Yeah. I would say really evaluate what your goal is in supporting someone, because I think that if we're honest, a lot of us feel really uncomfortable with other people's big feelings or grief or even their questions about God and doubts. And so when someone is sharing, I think we need to reflect on what is happening in my body, my soul, my mind when someone across from me is sharing something heavy. Am I kind of going into this like, I need to make you feel better. I need to fix this. I need to remind you of hope. Because whenever that is our goal of like, I need to make the person feel better, we actually miss them. And I love Ephesians 4:29 because it talks about sharing what is needed according to sharing what will give grace according to the need of the moment. And so it wasn't, when I was walking through that, it wasn't like people were saying things that were not true, right? Like, God is going to use this one day, he's going to work all things together for good. Your loved one is in heaven. Yeah, all those things are true.
Yeah.
But it wasn't what was helpful or needed in that moment. And so I would just go back to like simple weep with those who weep, right? So if you're sitting across from someone, make it your aim to understand, make it to your aim to hear them, like truly hear them, be unrushed. And I think like empathy does not require shared experience. And so I've had friends tell me, well, we were 18, 19. I had never lost someone, or I had never lost someone that young, or like watched someone like walk through losing, their body and their life. And so I think people didn't really know how to engage with me. And again, that empathy to say, let me just ask, how are you doing? How is grief sitting with you? How is this loss? How is this weight, this pain sitting with you this week, today, this month? Especially because a lot of times in a crisis or a painful season, I'm sure you've experienced this, you feel it for so much longer than other people expect you. So I think that first month, which there was its own things with like being on a college campus when she passed away and having so many eyeballs and people around me. But that first month, people are, checking in, praying, doing my laundry, showing up in super tangible ways. But as time goes on, people's lives resume, which is super natural. And so I think for community around those suffering to say, I'm still going to check in 3 months, 6 months, a year, years later, to keep that door open to say, I understand that this might still be hard and this might still be impacting you, and like I'm gonna make space for that.
Mm. That's such a great point of like the follow-up. I
Mhm.
have a bunch of friends right now that are going through pregnancy or postpartum, and I know they're like, yeah, I mean, you get help the first like 2, 3 weeks, but they're like,
Mhm.
things really hit the fan at the end of month 1 and then
Mhm.
into month 2 because now you're 2 months without sleep and
Mhm.
you're 2 months trying to figure out how to raise a new human and all the things. And they're like,
Mhm.
and everyone kind of forgets.
For sure. For
So it's so good to like check back in. Now, I know sometimes when we check back in on someone that's like had a rough season and they might, whether it was like the grief of a death or just a divorce
Mhm.
or just a tough job situation, so many different things.
Mhm.
And you ask them how they're doing and they kind of brush you off or just like, I'm fine. But like they're not fine. Like you're close enough in their circle. Let's put it to that level. You're
Mhm.
close enough into their circle to know they're not fine. How would you suggest still showing up for them?
I would say like just that analogy of leaving the door open of, hey, I know that you have walked through something like a hard and dark season or this specific thing happened, and I want you to know that I would love to be a listening ear for you anytime that you would like. And then I would add on to that, like, here's when I'm available. You can call
Hmm.
me Monday through Friday after 7. I'll leave my phone on for you. Or here's a list of,
Yeah.
like, here's a list of ways I would love to support you, bringing you a meal, watching a funny movie together. Because sometimes when you're in the midst of that, like, you don't you're already feeling that emotional heaviness all the time. So sometimes even a text of like, how are you can add to the overwhelm of like, how do I even begin to articulate how I am,
Yeah.
you
How do
know?
I send like 2 sentences in a text that's like encapsulates everything going?
Right. Encapsulates like my life is on fire. Thanks for asking,
Yeah,
And
is what it is.
I think I ask the question a lot, like, am I too much for people, or can people handle everything that I'm feeling
Mm.
and walking through? And so I think the community in my life that was like, I'm here to weep with you. I'm here to sit in silence, to have a fun time. You can bring this up anytime you want, any time of day, and I will never get tired of
Mm.
processing this with you. And even just like sending a text, like I have friends who have, made it like their focus to put like Izzy's birthday in their phone or the day that she passed away. And so now it's like 6 years later, and I still have a couple friends who text me celebrating Izzy's life today. And that
Aw.
like makes me feel so seen and not alone in that grief. And so I
Yeah.
think really putting things in your phone and offering like tangible things. Hey, here's a way I'd love to support you. Let me know out of these things like what you would find most helpful.
Hmm. That's such a great point because it's like the of like if you need anything, just like let me know is like puts the burden back on the grieving person and their brain's already like I don't even know how
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make it through the next day. Like how could I tell you how I need help?
And like it was so funny. There there was someone, I was trying to be more, okay, someone saying, let me know if you need anything. I remember a couple years ago, I had said, it would be a huge help, like if I submitted a grocery order, if you could pick it up for me, or if you are genuinely saying anything, like we have to pay to do our laundry, like if you don't mind doing some laundry for me. And the person texted me and was like, oh, actually, I don't have capacity for those things. I'm praying for you.
No.
And so
No.
And so I think it's like, is the let me know if you need anything genuine? Like, is it,
Hmm.
let me know if you need anything? And so I think sometimes we don't take people up on that because we don't know what they're really willing to give. So just
Yeah.
remove that from the equation and say,
Yeah, so good.
here's the ways that I want to love you this week or this month. And yeah, take the burden off of the person who already is carrying a lot.
Man, that's wild that someone said no to that. I'm also just kind of like, you had capacity. But maybe that's the hater in me. I'm a hater. I try to be nice, but I'm actually a hater. Um, my name being Grace is just God's joke against me
No.
to teach me every day.
Yeah.
Okay, so up to this point, we've talked a lot about like how to help people in their suffering. But then let's switch to more of like, you're the one in the midst of suffering. We see this in the story of Lazarus. What I think makes this story so spectacular, and I mean, it already is. He raises someone from the dead, someone who's been dead 4 days. That's a huge deal. But the fact that it wasn't just the centurion, the widow's daughter, the man, that he was like, this is Mary and Martha and Lazarus, the ones he loved. So there's like this relationship that Jesus has with these people, and he knows that like they're about to go through a horrible tragedy. And they have a lot of questions for him. I love Martha. She gets a lot of hate, and I will fight any pastor. If I sit through a sermon that hates on Martha, I'll fight them. But that aside, Martha is like, Lord, if you just came, like, why didn't you come? And it says, and I used to think when I was younger that I used to think he was like far away, but he was like only a couple miles. He could have walked there and just healed. So what do you do with that when you're in your grief and you're just like, Jesus, why the heck? Why didn't you do something?
Yeah. Yeah, I think from this story, something that I really gleaned from and wrote about in the book is how we see Jesus interact with Mary and Martha and even the other people that were grieving in the town, of like, even though he knew Lazarus would be raised from the dead, it didn't limit his humanity from grieving. And I think that we function like that. Like, oh, well, I know that this suffering is going to end, or I know God's going to use it for good, or I'm going to go to heaven one day. So then we think that biblical truth, therefore, like, usurps our experience of pain in this world. And honestly, I think one of the hardest parts of suffering is the expectations that we place on ourselves for how we need to go through it. And what I love, again, Jesus in this story, he knew that they were about to be taken out of pain. They were about to witness a miracle. They were about to have their brother back, right? And witness this moment in history. Their sadness is about to be rejoicing, but that didn't stop him from weeping with them and being moved to compassion. And so again, that tells me, okay, my humanity is not a lack of faith or a lack of godliness when I feel pain, grief, and anger at the suffering and brokenness of the world. It actually can be a reflection of God's heart himself, right? And so I think we need to not view that as lack of faith, to say, I'm experiencing pain, right? I think we can jump there. Like, is this a lack of my faith that I'm experiencing this? And two, like, receiving Jesus's heart for Mary and Martha, like, for ourselves. Even though we can have a tantrum, we can be like, God, what are you doing in this situation? And I don't think you have good for me, and you're not answering my prayers. And he can see that, like, in 3 months or a year or 5 years or the eternal perspective, he can see how he's bringing good for you, and it's all going to work out. But that doesn't limit his mercy from us. Like today, as we're having the tantrum, he's not like, get over it, girl, it's all going to be good one day. It's like he has tender mercies and empathy, collecting every tear, weeping with us, having Jesus's heart towards us, like right now in our pain, And so I love this story. It was a huge comfort to me.
It's so good. And you brought up a verse in Psalms of collecting every tear like in a bottle. And the first time I was like told that, because I don't even remember what I was going through that made me so sad. I was a child. I was in elementary. But I remember Miss Leanne, she was so instrumental in my faith, and she told me that verse. And just the image, like you said, of God like coming alongside us, and he's not just like, well, here's the theological truth that like he's going to work everything for good, like he's sovereign, like get over yourself. But it's like he comes alongside you and says, let me take your tears. And like they matter. I'm not going to even throw them away.
Yeah.
I'm going to put them in jars.
Have you ever wondered like how big that container has to be? I've been like, Lord, where are you keeping that ocean?
Yeah. That ocean.
Yeah.
That ocean.
No, but I also think too, with this book and with this journey, like I've had so many people ask just, how do you get over this? How do
Mm.
you get over this grief? How do you get over this mental health battle? How do you get over this unfulfilled desire? And I think it's our human nature and even some of our sin nature to say, I just don't want this pain. So I want to say,
100%.
how can I get out of it as fast as possible? Um, and I think that we need to define what our role is in suffering versus what God's role is in suffering. And that has been super helpful to say, God is actually the one that provides the endurance and brings me into a new season. My only job in suffering is to look to him and cling to him and who he is. And so I think sometimes we want to take God's role and say, let me force myself out of this sadness. Let me force myself out of this grief. And we actually make that season longer and more
Yeah.
messy and more full of disappointment. Instead of saying Hebrews 12, let me fix my eyes, let me stay honest with him, because if we're not honest, we can't receive intimacy and ministry from God and others. But he's the one who's going to carry me somewhere else. And so I just need to continue to seek him. And day by day, he's going to give me what I need. And it wasn't like I came out of that season again of like 2018, 2021, and one day there was just like an off switch and I was like, I'm not grieving anymore. I'm not experiencing depression anymore. Like I feel light. It truly was just like this gradual, the Lord bringing me to a different place and then being able to look up and being like, I don't feel as dark. I don't feel as heavy. I feel a sense of life back in my soul. And that was only by the grace of God, obviously working through his word, his people, counseling, rhythms of renewal, 100%. But I think we like to make it an equation to get out of it because, again,
Yeah.
it puts emphasis on our control, and we love control.
Amen.
Instead
It's my favorite.
of saying, my job is to remain, the Lord has to do the rest.
Mm. So how do you remain in God?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is you have to that honesty, right? I think that if we are not staying honest with the Lord of where we are, what we are feeling, what questions we have, what doubts we have, again, we can't receive ministry from him. But I truly think it's in the day by day, and the thing that Jesus says to remain in is specifically his love, right? And so I think I remember that season where I would have this phrase of like, I'm going to swing my legs out of bed in faith. And I would just
Mm.
attach in faith to everything because it felt like
Mm.
faith to keep going, to like
100%.
make myself breakfast in faith. I'm going to open the word in faith. And what I'm believing is like God's going to meet me here and he's going to supply what I need to take this step. So I wake up in the morning and I'm already overwhelmed by life. I don't want to do the day. I don't think I can make it through. Okay, in faith, swing my legs out of the bed, you know? And I
Wow.
think, and practicing his presence to say, like, right now in my pain, I'm going to receive God's love for me. Right now in my anxiety, my depression, I'm going to receive God's love for me. And doing that throughout the day, I truly think that's what it looks like to remain, is to receive. Um, and again, stay honest with the Lord, stay honest with others too.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so you're saying it's just the honesty with God, and then it's, hey God, this is where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Then immediately shifting your focus of, I'm gonna have faith. I might
Mm-hmm.
not feel it, but I'm just gonna declare it over the situation or
Mm-hmm.
just say it.
Mm-hmm.
In faith, I have it. And then letting it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Of, you know what, that day you might like have a moment where you
Mm-hmm.
meet God,
Mm-hmm.
and you also might not,
Mm-hmm.
but just trusting that, like you said, in faith. It's crazy how small little tags like that
Mm-hmm.
can change everything, because
Mm-hmm.
all it's doing is it's taking your chin from looking
Mm-hmm.
down here
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a little push up.
Mm-hmm.
that's all it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But like it makes me think of the elders that would, you'd ask them, "Oh, like, where are you going next year?" And they're like, "The Lord wills it.
Yes.
We'll be visiting Indiana." And you're like, "Grandma."
Yeah. Yeah.
But they were onto something.
Yeah.
They knew that like at the end of the day, God was the one
Mm-hmm.
who held it.
Yes.
He held it all. He knew. Like even before, if we go back to Lazarus' stories, before Lazarus is even dead, God is like, he's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
And he died, and then the disciples were surprised,
Mm-hmm.
per usual.
Yeah.
And then he was like, it's gonna be okay. Weeps, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
move past that moment, and then brings it back to the glory of God.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a real, just such a good story
Yeah.
of the gospel, of where God is. Can you tell me some ways that when you were in the midst of your grief during those years that you received God's goodness in your life or felt it?
Yeah. Honestly, being in solitude and quietness with the Lord, and like one verse that felt like an anchor, because I think like we talked about earlier in the conversation, there were a lot of times where I felt like I was too much for other people, or I couldn't be unhinged, whether it was what they were doing or my own, internal perception. And so I think I found so much of God's goodness in getting on my actual knees in a dorm room or my bedroom and putting on worship music or just pouring out my heart, and that honesty again of like, God, I don't think you're good. I don't see how you're good. I can't believe you let this happen. You're not hearing my prayers. And at the end of that, like being quiet to see what came to mind, what verses came to mind, what images came to mind, what memories of his past faithfulness. And you see this throughout the Psalms, right? Of like they start super mad at God or like, you have abandoned me. And then by
Yeah.
the end of it, they're like, the Lord has heard my prayers and answered me. And you're like, well, how did you get from here to here?
Yeah, you're like, that's like 8 verses. Like, what
And
happened?
and then we're like, are y'all good? And
Yeah.
it's like that is the way by which we get that transformation, is by through that honesty with the Lord, to say, this is where I am and I need you to remind me, to bring me somewhere else. And that was not a season of like deep Bible study, reading a chapter a day. I talk about in the book again, like I read a few verses of Lamentations 3 like every day for 6 months, and that was it.
Yeah.
I was
Amen.
clinging. I was like, this is my verse. This is what I know is true. There's a lot else that I don't have figured out that is confusing for me. And so I would say like starting with what you know, of there was things that I did not have doubts about. God is a creator. Jesus had changed my life. I felt like the Lord really saw me in my pain. Okay, let me cling to these things and stand on these when other things felt shaky. And also like through God's people, I give a lot of feedback because I want us to grow and how we show up for people in their pain. And at the same time, like I could not have made it through that season without friends, pastors, roommates, just rallying around me and loving on me. And again, just making space for my pain. And that wasn't always, it wasn't easy to like keep showing up to the small group, keep showing up to church. But I think if we ask the Lord to keep our hearts soft, because the enemy's agenda for you in suffering is to harden you. Harden you to the Lord, to harden you to others, to hear like a miracle in the room and say, of course God did that for someone else. He would never do that for me.
Ooh.
You
Ooh.
know? And so
Ooh.
there was Sundays like that where I was like, I don't want to praise, and I don't want to hear the praises in the room. And it was hard to show up because you have that comparison of like, but this is my life and God didn't do that in my life. He didn't answer my prayers that way, but he is for you. And so I think to say, I'm going to trust that the Lord is good, and I'm going to keep showing up to these spaces because what he says is good is community and his people. And the healing isn't outside of it, it's within it. And to say,
Speak that.
to say,
Speak that.
I need to be reminded of who God is through other people. When his love and his faithfulness feels foreign, the person tangibly in front of me, like loving on me, hugging me, making me a meal, saying, let's go do something fun, is that tangible reminder of the Lord. And so I can't highlight enough, you need God's people in suffering, and it's hard, and people are going to hurt your feelings. They're going to offend you. Ask the Lord to keep your heart soft and keep showing up, because you're not going to make it through without them.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting that we're recording on today because it's a Sunday, and this morning I went to church, and we've been walking through Matthew for, I kid you not, 2 years. And so I'm learning every verse of that book. But my pastor pointed out something today that one of those things that you read, but I never had fully put together the pieces in Matthew 26. It's when Jesus is praying in the garden of Gethsemane of, Lord, take this cup away. You know, he's sweating blood and all the things. But he goes back to the disciples 3 different times to say, I need you. The hour is like right now. I need you to stay awake with me and pray. And so my pastor's pointing out how, like, when Jesus was in his most intense suffering, facing the crazy weight of the world and the temptation to walk away, he didn't leave community. He asked for them to pray with him. Even though he knew who knew those jokers and he knew what they were about to do.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, he came back and they're like, you idiots. Like, of course you're asleep. You can't do it. But of course he's Jesus and we're not. And so he does the ultimate good for us. But it did blow my mind of like, oh yeah, when Jesus was suffering, he went to other people. So if Jesus needed other people, who am I to think that I can survive? You know, because we like to think, oh, it's just me and God. Like, he's got it. Jesus was praying to God the Father and still asked for his people, hey, come around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that just like blew my mind.
Yeah. And I think we can learn from that example to not wait for people to show up to like communicate what we're needing in a hard season. To say, hey, friend, this specific day of the week is really hard for me. Would you mind checking in with me? Or, hey, I anticipate that this appointment or date or event is going to be difficult. Would you mind praying for me on this day? Or I've been feeling low. Would you mind if we did something within the next week? I think being assertive, like with those invites. And again, I know that can feel like it takes extra energy, but even just like if you're spending time with someone, just, can I share how, this grief has been sitting with me? Or can you pray for me? Or can I just say some of the doubts and the lies out loud that I've been wrestling with? And this is the biggest thing, I think. One way that we can support each other is like when we share, also sharing what we need. Because you might be someone who shares and you instantly want someone to pray for you. Or you want someone to say, hey, in your own time, go read these 5 verses. I am someone where I just want you to go, thank you for sharing. And that's all I need. And
that's it.
And other people feel like that's a miss because you didn't address what I said. You didn't, try to minister to me. And I'm like, you just saying, thank you for sharing. I hear you. I see you. I'm like, I'm loved. I'm seen. I love everybody.
Yep.
That's all I need.
It's almost like we need we have the 5 love languages. We need like the 5 grief languages of how to connect. Because that's so real.
Grace, I think when we were roommates, we did like a roommate meeting and you were like, what do you guys need on a hard week? And you were like, how do I know that you're having a hard week? And then what do you need in it? Like if you got broken up with or someone cussed you out or whatever it was, you're like, what do you need? Do I leave you alone? Do I bake you cookies? Like, how do I comfort you? And that was such a great question because it was like proactive. And I think like we should normalize that in community and friendship too, because the hard days are coming. So we might as well prepare for them.
We might as well know. Isn't it so funny how we make it so complicated communication as an adult when I've been spending a lot of time with my nephew who's 4. And listen, he'll tell me exactly what he needs. He'll tell me straight to my face whether I want to hear it or not. And I'm like, maybe we do need it. Like some of our childlike faith is also just childlike communication. Like He just recently started pooping on the toilet, so that's a big win.
Mhm.
But he'll be sitting there, Mom, I need you to wipe me. And it's
Mhm.
just, that's it. And sometimes it's just, I need you to say nothing. I
Yeah.
need you to say, I've heard you, and then walk away. And
Mhm.
then that's perfect for me. That's so
Mhm.
good of like truly knowing your people. And I would encourage people if they feel like they don't have community that's like hit that level yet. We were semi forced into it because we were living together. But if
Mhm.
they feel like, especially in adulthood, it's just tough
Mhm.
um, being known. We don't have as much of the rhythms that childhood and college gives you.
Mhm.
I would encourage them to always, go first
Mhm.
and just see how the other person reacts.
Mhm.
Because you'll be surprised by, the other person that's sitting across you that you finally got coffee with is also thinking, I don't have anyone
Mhm.
who I can actually talk with this about.
100%.
Mm.
I love that. Go first.
Go first, go first. Okay, and now when we think of grief, we are often pointed towards heaven. What's one thing that or I guess let me put it this way. What do you think of when you think of heaven?
Yeah. I think of everything wrong being made right. I
Mm.
think of everything that we have prayed for and even like the desires underneath those prayers like fully fulfilled. So restored relationships, healing of our bodies, even when we pray for longings of our heart, like underneath that might be a longing for intimacy or feeling valuable or fulfillment. And I just think like heaven is a place where we are experiencing what we were meant to experience, like what God actually
Mm.
created us for. And so there's nothing out of place. Everything works, everything makes sense. I think I also think of like enjoying God's creativity. Like I hope that my mom started saying this to me recently in the past couple of years. She said, it doesn't bother me anymore that I haven't really got to travel my whole life because I'm going to see the world in heaven. And I was like,
Wow.
I love that. Um,
Oh,
and
what a
so
great thought.
I know, like I think we can feel like FOMO of like, I missed out in my life here,
Mm.
whether it's family or career or travel or whatever it is, of like, there is a whole nother life for us ahead, and enjoying God's creation and creativity. I'm also excited to see what like my job is in heaven. I'm not gonna
Yes.
lie because
Yes.
my job exists as a social worker because pain and suffering exist. So I'm like, what's the redeemed version of this when we're not in a broken world? I'm just interested.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I went down a rabbit hole of that about like 2 years ago I feel like we were told when we were younger and it got popular that the idea of heaven is it's just like one big endless worship service.
Yes.
And I know there's verses where it's like if you just look at that, that's what it seems to be. But then like kind of fully realizing that it's not just like heaven up in the skies, but it's heaven on earth.
Yes.
The earth made new, as you said. And then right, what God said and that work, you see more language of like reigning and ruling. Like there's some form of work
Mhm.
happening. And so I've been so curious, yes, of what what kind of job do I work in brokenness. I work
Yeah.
not at all the same level, but
Yeah.
my day job is, helping houses that have mold, water, or fire damage.
Mhm.
Like we meet people in a spot that they're pretty upset to be at and don't want to be there and we help get their house back to right. But yeah, what is it in heaven? They'll be so
I
I
hope
love
I hope that you will bake for us in heaven.
Oh, that'd be so fun. Oh, that'd be so fun. If you can't tell, my go-to for any crisis at every time, no matter what Mikayla told me. I don't even remember what you told me, like when I was like, what do you need in a hard week? I was just like, I made cookies. Here's banana bread.
Yes. Yes. Here's a giant chocolate chip cookie or your famous thumbprint cookies. Like I still dream of those and crave
Oh.
them sometimes.
I just am so bad at not having tangible. I'm like, I need to do something, and I think you look sad. We'll bake cookies, and I don't know. That's my response to most circumstances. I don't know how to get out of.
I think that's a great response. I think that's perfect.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, Mikayla, before we get to our last question, can you tell us where we can find your book, where we can find you online, your podcast, and anything else you want to share with us? I'm going to show them your book again, just so I can see.
Yes. Yeah, no, thank you. The book is on Amazon, If God is Good. The podcast is also called If God is Good. So that's on YouTube and Spotify. We're just having real, honest conversations about hard questions that we may experience in suffering, different episodes on suffering in community. What can we hope for? What is God doing in the world? Those types of conversations. And then you can follow me on social media, Mikayla Jeanty. You should be able to find me. I think I'm the only one, but yeah, I'm really excited. The book, whether you're in a hard season or not, it gives you a strong theology for suffering. So I think people have been like, is this a grief book? I'm like, no, it's a Christian book. Because again, Jesus said, in this world, you'll have trouble. So get it for yourself, get it for someone else, walk through it together. I think it will be helpful.
You know, I actually think, I'm not all the way through the book yet, but from reading it, what I actually think would be great for is a graduation gift for a high schooler, which would seem weird. But from my experience in college, your experience in college, and everyone else I knew in college, we experienced a new level of suffering that we never had before.
That's true.
We didn't have the full protection of our parents like we used to. You got exposed to many more people. And like you said, it's not like a grief of like you've had to have gone through a death of someone for it to make sense to you. But I could see this being really helpful to college students, especially if, you know, they're at a secular college and they're trying to explain their faith to someone else. This could give them some really good language, because I know the problem of evil and suffering is always like one of the first questions. And as an 18, 19-year-old, it's such an intimidating one. It's like, oh my gosh. So I think this book would be a fantastic gift for anyone that you know, especially going into college or college age. Okay, Mikayla, I'm so excited. So our last question is, since this is the Sunday school club, if you could start or create any kind of club, it does not need to be realistic at all, what club would you start?
Oh my goodness. The first thing that comes to mind is just some type of creative club where we coexist together and we don't talk. I'm an introvert.
No talking.
After we just had this whole conversation, but you can like paint, watercolor, like flowers are coming to mind if you want to make a floral bouquet. I think in another life I would want to be a florist. Maybe that's my heaven job, but
Amen.
I think just bringing people together to create without like socializing. We're just coexisting. Pottery, whatever. I think a creative
just by each other.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume you didn't say this, but like none of this can be for sale or profit. This is just funsies.
No hustling, no side. No. It's just to work with your hands and enjoy it.
Like, we're just going to color.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great.
Yeah.
That sounds so fun. I'd be a big fan of that. I would join your club. I wish it was real. And I wish I lived by you.
Yes, me too. I'm so excited for this podcast. I've been so impacted by your knowledge of scripture and like Bible lessons that you taught in our house to our small group. I hold on to till this day, and like your analogies and just the way that you explain scripture. So I'm so excited for this space. I know it's going to bless so many people.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I know you really encouraged me during my college years to keep tending the fire of like some of my dreams with this. And so I'm forever grateful for you and your role that you've played in my life.
Love you,
well,
girl.
Thanks so much. Yeah, love you, girl. Thanks so much for coming on this show. Guys, I just love that girl so much. Her story of what she's gone through, the grief that she's experienced, but her faithfulness to God that I've been able to watch is so inspiring. I hope you walked away, if you're someone who is going through grief right now, just encouraged that we have a God who weeps with us and mourns with us and is in our side, but also has a greater plan for us ahead. And if you're someone who's not going through suffering right now, you probably have someone around you. I hope you leave with some practical tips on how you can better walk alongside them. Well, thank you so much for coming. To all my students, I love you all. Have a great day. Can't wait to see you next time.